Hello, and welcome to a sneak peek into the locations of the sailing skill. If you don't want to have any spoilers for the locations of sailing, this is your chance to exit the video. Alright, with the release of sailing coming on November 19th, I wanted to go over the actual physical locations and resources that are going to come with this release. The goal of this video is to give a look at what to expect and where to expect to find certain materials. To start, I'm going to go over the new resources and what they look like on the minimap, an overview of the new ports, and keeping an on-screen legend while we go over the resources of the individual islands. Not all islands are currently visible, and not all assets are currently placed, so all of this is still a major work in progress. To start, the first type of resources that we're going to look at are related to woodcutting. First, we have the Jatoba trees, which require 40 woodcutting. Next is camphor trees, which has a requirement of 66 woodcutting. Second to last is the ironwood tree, which requires 80 woodcutting. And lastly is rosewood trees, which has a requirement of 92 woodcutting. Now we're going to move on to the mining resources. The first one we're going to look at is lead ore, which is available at level 25 mining. Nickel ore, which is available at 74 mining. Not shown in my chart is the rubium splinters and rubium geodes, which are used to create the incendiary cannonballs, but those are only mineable on Charred Island, which I'll be going over later. Alright, now that we know what all these new resources will look like on the minimap, I want to go over all of the ports that are added to the game that we have access to. Firstly, the first port that we're getting is the Pandemonium. It does have a hunter training spot. It's got all of the typical stuff you would expect, the shipwright, the crew registrar, ledger table, port task, salvaging. It has all of that type of stuff. There is a bank and a fishing spot as well. It does have an accessible dungeon, which when you click into it, it does appear that there are about 8 lead rocks, which according to the legend are these ones right here. Here is an alternate view of what the Pandemonium looks like. I won't be doing this to every island, however I will do it to some of the more noticeable ones. This is done on the OSRS World viewer. And just to get a quick little overlook, we do have the crab bank right here, which I think is pretty cool. This is where the entrance to the cave is and the overall facility. At level 45, we unlock another brand new port, which is the Summer Shore, which is located on the Great Conch with the Tortugans. I'm not going to focus too much along the island itself, but I will show the trees. This tree right here, which if you look at the legend in the top left again, is the the Jatoba trees. These ones are the camphor trees. It does appear that there are teaks and mahoganies also spread along the Great Conch. And now we are back in the world viewer. I really do love the architecture that they've went with for the Tortugans, and you can also see some of the stalls that are here, but what most people are going to be interested in are the trees. Here we have a Jatoba tree, and here are the camphor trees. Most of the island is not currently fleshed out, as you can see, but we now know what these trees look like, where they're located, and I will move on to the next port now. At level 50, we unlock Port Roberts, which is located to the west of Tiranwan and northeast of the Kingdom of Arlamore. The most unique thing that I'm able to see for Port Roberts currently is that there are thieving activities, which could be as simple as just thieving a chest or a stall or something of that nature. But there is, if I can find it, a cannonball stall. So it's not showing up on here. However, in the next view, you'll be able to see it. So this is what Port Roberts looks like, and I'm going to lower down, and here you can see the cannonball stall. It does have every kind of Dragon Ball on it. However, I believe you can only steal up to the the rune cannonballs. I do not believe that you can steal the dragon cannonballs at all. And finally, for the last new location that has a port, we have Deepfin Point, which is located to the southwest of the Isle of Souls. Deepfin Point has an above-ground mine, as well as a cave that leads below the surface. On the surface level, we have several lead ores and nickel ores. The rare trees that are on here are yew trees. Now, let's take a look inside the dungeon. There are significantly more lead, coal, nickel, myth, iron. There's a general store, as well as an agility shortcut right here, which requires level 84 agility. However, this looks like it will be the closest nickel to a bank. So that would be most likely the best option for getting nickel for your Upro nickel bars. And just to do a quick overview of this area, this is what the lead rocks actually look like. And this is what the nickel rocks actually look like. And this is where you will enter into the cave to go find the rest. Now that we've gone over all of the new ports that have been added, let's move on to mooring points. Mooring points are what allow us to go into the new islands, similar to the way the gangplanks currently work in the game, when we're getting off of a boat. The first mooring point is Dognose Island, which is located right here, southwest of Menaphos, north of the Great Conch, which is unlocked at level 40. It does have a fishing spot or two. It is unknown how many are actually there, and it is an unknown type. There is also a hunter training of an unknown type, as well as a rare tree, which is a magic tree. Located on the cliff, there is also a rusty chest, which appears to have a level 33 thieving requirement. And here is Dognose Island with the world viewer. This is the rusty chest that has the picklock option, the magic tree, and there should be some fishing spots along the edge. Fishing spots do not show up in this world viewer. Up next is Chinchampa Island, which is unlocked at level 42 and is located to the southeast of House Hasidius. It does have the hunter training, which the assumption will be Chinchampa's. However, it does not show up in the world viewer, so we do not know what type of Chinchampa will be on it. There are also fishing spots along the island, as well as a chest that does not have a lockpick option. It only has an open option, which I will be showing in the next clip. Alright, here is Chinchampa Island. There is the lockbox that has an open option on it. There's a chart for a table and a buildable cooking pot space. Next on the list is the Little Pearl, which is unlocked at level 45, and the completion of the Troubled Tortugans quest. This island does look pretty bare, especially on the mini-map. However, once we go into the next view, you should be seeing something else. Here we are in the world viewer of the Little Pearl Island now. Here's the mooring point. The map doesn't show it, but there are sand nests with eggs. And given that this is in the Trouble Tortugan's quest, I'm gonna make the assumption that these are griffin eggs, and part of the quest line will take us here. Next up is Vatrakos Island, which is available at level 46, is located to the west of the Isle of Souls and east of Varlamore. Once we zoom in on it, we'll see there's a water source, there are some mining sites as well as fishing sites. It looks like there are a pottery wheel. The mining types appear to be coal, gold, silver, iron, clay, and myth. In the next clip, it's just going to be a quick little snippet. However, you'll see what I mean now when I say a lot of this is not completed in the OSRS World Viewer map, so the island will be completely bare. So this is the Vatrakos Island in the OSRS World Viewer, completely empty, no details, no textures, nothing going on at all. Unlocked at level 47 is the Onyx Crest Island, which is located to the southwest of the Great Conch. On the Onyx Crest, there are 6 lead rocks, as well as a fishing spot around here, a furnace, and a water source. The bank on this hill appears to be a buildable bank, and there are actually also a couple of gem rocks thrown into this mining pit as well. This is the world viewer for Onyx Crest. Here we are with the 6 lead rocks, 5 gem rocks, and assorted others. And here is the buildable bank space on top of the, not on top of the hill, but on the way up the hill. Up next is the Shimmering Atoll, which is located underneath Varlamore and requires level 49 to gain access. Along the island, there are several fishing spots of unknown type, and zooming in on the rare trees, it appears that there are some mahogany and teak trees. Unlocked at level 51 is the Angler's Retreat, which is located to the south of Corsair Cove. It is home to quite a few fishing spots, most likely of differing types as well. There is a tree patch. This one doesn't show tree patch, but in the OSRS World Viewer it does, which I will show next. There are also yew trees as the rare type. There is a buildable cooking range and a buildable spinning wheel. And there are several flax on the eastern edge of the island as well. There is an agility shortcut that requires level 52 that leads to another chest, which I will show off in the world viewer. And here we are in the world viewer for Angler's Retreat. Here is where it says the tree patch, the buildable cooking pot space, buildable spinning wheel. Here is an openable lockbox. This is the agility shortcut, which leads to a chest. And unlocked at level 54 is the Minotaur's Rest, which is located between Varlamore and Port Tyrus. Zooming in, we do have a hunter training method, a cooking area, and a dungeon. When you click into the dungeon, I believe you can be safe to assume there will be Minotaurs. And unlocked at level 55, there is a mooring point on the eastern edge of the Isle of Souls. I'm not going to go over everything on the Isle of Souls, as that is existing content and has been covered pretty consistently by anybody. And next up at level 56 is the Isle of Bones, which is located to the southwest of the Pest Control Island. According to the minimap, there really is not much that we can see besides a few dead trees. However, In the OSRS World viewer, it'll give us a little bit more of a hint about what it's about. Alright, here's the world viewer of the Isle of Bones. And as we saw, there's just some dead trees, cages, bodies, broken boats. However, there is an investigate cauldron on here. So my assumption is this is going to be part of one of the new quests, or one of the future quests that are going to be coming out. At level 58 sailing, we gain access to Laguna Aurora, which is located to the southwest of Aldrin. There is a buildable loom, cooking space, and water source, and throughout the island there are several types of fishing spots, as well as some yew trees on the eastern edge. There is an agility shortcut on the northwest of the island, which requires 61 agility, which leads to a chest. There is also a dungeon in the center of the island, which leads to a Kurask lair. And just to give a quick overview of the Laguna, along the eastern edge we do have a few yew trees, and this is the agility shortcut that I was mentioning. A few rocks, and an openable chest. The dungeon is also located in the central, right here in a cave. Unlocked at level 60 sailing is the Charred Island, which is located directly south of Pest Control and to the west of the Great Conch. Charred Island has a bank on it, which is unknown if it needs to be built, as well as a hunting spot. There is also a mining spot on the surface, which appears to either contain coal or lead. There is also a dungeon that does contain the new lava strikeworms, which requires level 62 Slayer, and they have a drop of the new item Dragon Sheets, which are required for high level sailing upgrades. In this dungeon, there are also nickel, coal or lead, and several rune rocks, it appears. This is also the only location in the game that you can mine for rubium splinters or geodes in this area right here. Which, the rubium splinters and geodes are used to make the incendiary cannonballs. And finally, to the east, there appears to be a fishing spot in the lava. And the next unlock at level 61 sailing is Tear of the Soul. It is directly to the southeast of the Isle of Souls. It does not seem to have much going on with it, besides a few yew trees on the peak. And this is the OSRS World viewer. It just shows there's really nothing besides just a few yew trees. At level 63 sailing, we unlock Windtumber Island, which is located to the south-southwest of the Isle of Souls. On the minimap, it appears there's only a fishing spot. However, when we check out the world viewer, we'll notice a few things. Alright, now that we're in the world viewer for Windtumber Island, I noticed there is an elite clue step where you can build a stash unit, as well as the small island to the southeast has a small cloth hanging off of a cactus that's blowing in the wind. Currently, I was unable to find any information, but this may have a quest lead to it at some point in the future. Up next at level 64 sailing is the Crown Jewel, which is located to the west of Windtumber Island and to the south of Varlamore. It contains a buildable cooking space, as well as catching crabs, which I will show in the next view. I want to assume these are the highest level rainbow crab area, and I'll go into the world viewer now. Alright, now that we're in the world viewer, we'll notice there is another lockbox that can be opened, as well as a tarnished chest, which can be picklocked. These appear to be the crab traps, which given the level of the island, I am going to assume it's the rainbow crabs that are located on this area. There is also a cave that is currently blocked off. It's not interactable, but this may lead to another quest in the future or some other content expansion. The next island unlock is unlocked at level 66 and is Ledrith Island, which is found to the northwest of Port Tyrus. This is also the first island that we're seeing that has the elven theme to it. It contains several magic trees, as you can see from the sprites, as well as a few fishing spots on the northern edge. And here we are on Ledrith. In the world viewer, there are quite a lot of magic trees here, as well as a lockbox that can be opened. One small island over, there's a chart of a barrel of halberd poles, and the island next to it, which I cannot see if there's anything special about it. However, there is a dense forest that says it's enterable, so there may be some type of clue step or something on this island that I cannot currently find. And unlocked at level 69 is Rainbow's End, which is to the far southwest of Pest Control, southwest of the Charred Island, and near the bottom of the map, the southern edge. Currently, the map shows pretty much nothing on it, and once we hit the world viewer, there's only one item in the middle of the island. And this is the world viewer for Rainbow's End. There is an option to chart Gnome the Ball. That is the only thing on this island currently. And located just to the west of Rainbow's End and unlocked at level 72 sailing is Sunbleak Island. The main attraction for Sunbleak Island is the ironwood trees, which I counted, and there appears to be 14 ironwood trees here. There is also a buildable bank on the southwestern edge, a cooking source, and a water source. On the surface, there's also a lockbox. Inside the dungeon, there is some mining with nickel, coal or lead, and some mithril, as well as what appears to be a gold ore, which might be behind some type of cage, but that is to be determined. And here we are at the world viewer for Sunbleak Island. Here are what the iron trees look like, the ironwood. I did count. There do appear to be 14 of them on the island, and this is the entrance to the cave that was mentioned, and the buildable bank chest space. And unlocked at level 73 sailing is Innisdale. Apologies for how I'm pronouncing it most likely. And it is located to the north of Prifddinas. On the surface, there are iron rocks as well as 3 nickel rocks. There's also a reinforced chest, which looks to have a level 76 thieving requirement if it is the same as the reinforced pirate chest. Inside the dungeon, there are 8 nickel rocks, myth rocks, and 2 rune rocks. Also, this is the cave where the Aquanites are, which requires 78 Slayer, and drop the Aquanite Tendon to assist with crossbow usage. This is the world viewer where you can see some iron ore, which is a nice power mining spot right here due to the 3 in 1 tile space. The 3 nickel rocks. Here is the reinforced chest, as well as the cave entrance. And unlocked at level 74 is the Waterbirth Island mooring point, which requires the Fremnik Trials quest and is located pretty much right where the ship Terelica and the Lunar Spellbook Waterbirth teleport goes to. Unlocked at level 76 sailing is Buccaneer's Haven, which is located to the west of the Piscatores fishing colony. When you zoom in, you do notice that there's a fishing spot, as well as a buildable bank, an anvil, and a furnace. Inside the dungeon, it's called the Buccaneer's Laboratory, and currently there's nothing that I can really find out about this area. And located to the northwest of Prif Dinis, and requiring level 79 sailing, is Drumstick Isle. Drumstick Isle has a main attraction of 10 rosewood trees growing here, which requires level 92 woodcutting. On both sides of the island, there are also several fishing spots. And here is the world viewer of Drumstick Isle, and a close-up look at the rosewood trees. I did count 10 when I did my overview of the island. There are 3 here, and 4 here. At level 80 sailing, you unlock a new mooring point just on the northern shore of Weiss, which requires the completion of Making Friends with My Arm quest. Brittle Isle is located to the northwest of the Lunar Isle. Brittle Isle does have a hunter training method on it, of unknown method so far, and Brittle Isle is supposed to have a forge where you can make cannonballs twice as fast, which Jagex has confirmed to work with the double cannonball mold. On the surface, there's a reinforced chest and a lockbox, and assuming the forge is underground, there is a doorway with an inspect option on it. And here we are at the world viewer. Here is a openable lockbox, a reinforced chest with the pick lock option on it, and a doorway which has an inspect cave option to it, which should be where the forge is for the cannonballs. And the final mooring point to the sailing skill currently is unlocked at level 87 and is located to the far north of Weiss. This is Grimstone. On the surface, there appears to be several runite rocks, adamant rocks, and quite a lot of nickel rocks. There's also a lockbox on the surface. Inside the dungeon, there is a furnace and a fairy ring, which the code is DLP. However, until you gain access to Grimstone itself, you will be unable to use that code. Grimstone is also home to the new Frost Dragons, which have the new Dragon Sheet drop as well, and no Slayer requirement. There is an agility shortcut in this area as well. However, we don't see exactly where it goes to. I'm assuming from one side to the other, but it requires level 83 agility. And this is the world viewer of Grimstone Island. Here's some nickel rocks, more nickel, a few addy, 3 rune, and the lockbox. This is also the cave entrance right here. I hope that the research that went into the creation of this content of sailing was interesting to all of you as it was to me. Not everything in this video has obviously been set in stone. Most of the information was found by simply looking at the sprites on the minimap, as well as through the OSRS World viewer, which was updated to include many of the islands. Jagex is able to change and update any of the quantities or requirements as they see fit, and as prior to the release, expect some sort of changes somewhere in this type of content. With the amount of time and effort it took to compile all of this, I would really appreciate if you can like, comment, and subscribe for more similar content. I will see you in the next one.